Hello everybody, this is a frame from MicroHeli. They call it the CNC fiber ducted style D frame. It's made for your Mobula 7, but pretty much any 75mm ducted whoop can be used in this. So the carbon fiber bottom plate's measuring 0.72mm. The duct height is almost 13mm. In my kit, I've got the 802 19,000 kV motors, and I am running two 1S batteries. These batteries to be specific. It weighs 30.5 grams. A near stock Mobula 7 weighs 27.32 grams. I want to reiterate that we are flying a higher kV motor in this, so if you're expecting a 4-minute flight time, we're just not going to get it, and we have those extra grams too. But some people prefer a carbon fiber base plate or a carbon fiber frame over a plastic frame, and this is an option for you. There is quite a few screws, so you're going to need to take your time and screw all those little screws in. And we also probably should use some thread locker, but be careful about getting thread locker on the 3D printed motor soft mounting, because I don't know what thread locker does to TPU, so that's something to be aware of. And I'll show you those soft mounts for the motors when we get back to the desk. I didn't point them out in the quick roll because it's not a real big feature. I've also got the audio just because I thought it might sound different. Initially when I started flying this around, I wasn't recording the sound because, you know, we've kind of all heard these, or at least here at this channel, you've heard these fly around before. And I figured they'd sound about the same. And then after flying it a bit, I thought, you know, it's really not up to me on whether or not I include the audio. You probably want to hear it so you can get your own take on it. So we have that in this flight footage. One of the main differences outside of the KV of the motors and the frame is the prop that I'm running on this. And I run this prop just because the TBS prop does not fit a lot of different frames. If you put it on the trash can frame, they rub on the side, and so I wanted to use that prop on this just to make sure that it wasn't going to rub on these ducts. One other thing I'd like for them to do is, after you've bought the kit, to have like a QR code or a download link so that you could download an STL file to print for yourself, because surely after some number of flights, even though I haven't broken the ducts, I would expect them to take some damage. You could probably use some form of adhesive to keep them together, but if you have the printer, that would be a way for them to add value to the kit. You know, so if you bought the kit, you could then print your own ducts after the fact. You wouldn't have to rely on buying a whole nother kit. They do have various colors, red, blue, green, black, white, and yellow. Why I didn't get the blue, I don't know. I can't remember why. I don't have the blue, and I don't know why. They also have prints that are multicolored, so you can buy those. They have various kits. They come in all sorts of different colorations that you can purchase, and different print styles. And they also have aluminum ducts as well. But that's the end of our flight. We only got about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So those grams in that higher KV does drain our batteries a little bit faster than it does stock. So the first thing I wanted to show you was the 3D printed soft mounting, and it is much slimmer on this one than it was in the last kit. I don't know why that is, but it does make putting these motors in actually more difficult. My experience was that these thinner soft mounting does not make the screws stay in as well, so you do have to get everything lined up in order to get those in. And again, be careful. I would add the thread locker to the base of the motor. That way when you put the screw in, it will be more likely to stay in place. It does come in a nice box, so the damage that it should occur in shipping should be minimized. At least mine came fully intact, but I wanted to show you that box so you get an idea of how it shipped. Sometimes these frames can be shipped in plastic, and then they get all messed up in shipping, but in this case they come in a relatively good box. It also does come with a one-sheet assembly instructions, and it's pretty well done. I just followed it along. It does apply Loctite on every page. I think the only really necessary place to put Loctite is when you're screwing down your motors. You see it here again. Sorry, that was out of frame. It's here again. And then it goes through just about everything, the size of the screw that you'll be using and everything of that nature. You should have, if you've got the screws from your previous, everything you need to assemble this one. So having the right screw shouldn't be an issue. It's just a matter of you associating the length of the screw to the right spot. And this could be where they include like a download link or a QR code where you could download an STL file for the ducts itself. So after you've made your purchase, you could print more of these at no additional cost, because otherwise you're going to either need to find one on the internet, which maybe there is one, or you're going to have to buy another one if these do break. I crashed it a fair bit, and I didn't have any breakages, but eventually it will break. It's just like all plastic, it will eventually break. And as you can see here, it's got a different mount, which is here in this bag, and I have the two rubber bands, and that's so you can use different size of batteries. So if you didn't want to use two 1S batteries like this, you wanted to use a single 2S cell, you could do that with this, and it is included in the kit. I did not use it because, of course, I was going with the two 1S. Give a quick stroll here around so you can see the print quality. You can take take a look at all the different screws. We'll flip it over and look at all the screws. Oh, also, there's soft mounting in a TPU print down in here. That's how you mount your board and also your canopy down. So that's something to note there as well. I did find that I had to take this off to route my cables down through there. So if you don't do that before you put that on, you're going to have to take that back off in order to get this down through there. Of course, you may want to go straight out the back for some reason. You know, there's a couple different options. Getting it around here after you've got everything assembled is a little bit of a pain too. So when you assemble yours, you know, make sure you're taking note of what you wanted to do with your battery leads. And here are all the screws. I didn't count them all, but there are quite a few. We've only got 3 here. You see, 1, 2, 3. There's none right here, and that's by design. It's not included in the instructions. So even though there's a hole there, and apparently this is used for multiple purposes, we only have those 3 screws to hold our flight controller and all-in-one flight controller in there. And then we have screws all the way around here. We've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then for the battery mount, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, 15 screws. So not terrible. Oh, I forgot. We got 2 up top, right? 2 up top? No, 3 up top. 1, 2, 3. This one does screw down. It's the one in front where you don't screw anything down. So we get those 3 up top too, for a grand total of 18 if I'm counting correctly. It does not come with a screwdriver, so you'll need to furnish that. We also have a fair bit of space between the carbon fiber and the flight controller, so if you have added a receiver to yours or you bought a board that didn't have a receiver, there's quite a bit of space in there to where you could very simply put it underneath there and then maybe route your antennas out back in some manner. But I thought that was fairly interesting, but that does mean when you're plugging in your motors, you're not going to be able to get your fingers down in there. Unless you got the thinnest fingers I've ever seen, you're going to need to use a pair of needle nose or some tweezers or something like that in order to get your motor plugs down in there, because they are recessed a fair bit. We still have access to our USB plug, of course. I did have to plug that in to make sure everything worked, so that's free and clear right there. You may find, because of that depth, if you have a real short-nosed USB cable, it might not work. I've been using this. It came with those Top Sky goggles a while back, and it works just fine. I've got another one here on the side. I don't know where I got this, probably from Amazon or something like that. This one fits. It's relatively thin. It's not big and bulky. I have a bulky one here. Let me grab that one. So while this one on the right is not micro, it's mini. This micro USB cable, you can tell the difference in the thickness. If you've got one like this, you might have some troubles, but generally you're most worried about the length exposed to get down in there, and that's the case not just with this, with most micros. And lastly, as we see here, there's really not much clearance, but also note that our props sit kind of high. That drew my attention, that they're not down in the ducts quite as much as I remember others aftermarket frames. So that's something to, I have heard that tiny whoop racers, the traditional tiny whoop racers, they tend to pull their props up to the end of the motor stem. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So maybe there's a performance benefit there, that those, as you can see, I've got them down pretty deep there, but they sit still kind of high in the duct. There could be efficiency loss or gains with how these are cut too. I couldn't say for certain without doing a bunch more tests, but it's something to note. With these 2 mounting brackets, it does sit nice and flat when you set it down, so when you have your shelf queen, it does sit itself properly. It doesn't lean to one side or anything like that. So there you go. If you want some bling for your whoop, we have another option here from MicroHeli. There'll be a link down in the description to their website to where you can find this and a host of other frames and options and colors for the Mobula 7 and other brushless whoops. Maybe you want to build one. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the section down below. I appreciate your time. And thanks for watching.